Dr. Della Parker here, coming at you from Stellar Health and Wellness in Clackamas. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit to you tired mommies about one element of your lab work that may have you hung up. So we're going to talk about cholesterol today. And with all of my patients, I think it's really important to do functional lab analysis. And what that means is we're going to get some lab work done, or maybe you're going to bring in some recent lab work, and I'm going to go through it line by line to make sure that you understand what it is that you've even had tested, so you know if your iron is normal, and you know if it's ever been tested at all. And we would go through line by line so you understand what areas in your body, based on lab work, is in the excellent category, body is high performing, optimal right there, whether it's in the moderate category, so it could use some work to maybe pull it back to that optimal spot before it heads down to a path of disease. And then we can also identify those trouble areas where your labs are not in good places and you are likely to travel down a disease path. So we can work diligently on those line items to get them back into the optimal range. So I just wanted to touch base on cholesterol today because that's a huge one that's very misunderstood. So when you get your cholesterol done, there's going to be 3 to 4 numbers that you receive, well, maybe even 5. And so I just want to break down what those line items are on your cholesterol panel so that you can understand their meaning. So the first one is your total cholesterol number. And that normal number is going to vary based on the lab. I call 220, under 220 of total cholesterol just fine. And that number alone is not going to give us the answer of where your cholesterol lies. So I want to talk about one thing really quickly. I like to see my patients at the higher end of that. So around 200, I think, is ideal. When people are taking maybe too much medication or they're limiting cholesterol in their diet, maybe they're a vegan or a vegetarian, or they just still are subscribing to this myth that cholesterol is bad for them. Basically, there's studies that have shown that lower cholesterol is going to increase your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. So while heart disease doesn't sound fun, there's actually not a ton of research that actually is linking cholesterol to heart disease. That's a whole nother ball of wax. You can check out a book called The Cholesterol Myth to kind of read more about that. Joe Rogan has a couple podcasts that are really awesome on that. I'm sure you can Google those up real quick just to get both sides of that story. But anyways, I like to see around 200, 220 total cholesterol. But what's really important is breaking down those fractions. And we're just talking about basic lab work. And so when we were looking at your HDL cholesterol, that is basically the good cholesterol. This type of cholesterol is going to be protective to your heart. And so we actually like to see this number as high as possible. So some people, anything above 55 is going to be excellent, but some people have this number in the 80s, which is amazing. And then the LDL cholesterol is what is classically known as your bad cholesterol. And we want this number to stay below 120 ideally. But when you're calculating your total cholesterol number, keep in mind that if you have amazing HDL cholesterol, like in the 80s, those extra 20 points that are like your bonus great cholesterol are adding to that total number. So I've seen patients get prescribed medication because their total cholesterol number is above 200, but it's higher because they have such excellent, good HDL cholesterol, and that's bogus in my mind. And so we want to keep that total cholesterol around 200, 220, HDL as high as possible, sky's the limit, and LDL cholesterol we want to keep below 120. The most important one, I think, is the triglycerides. And this is really telling us about how we're processing sugars more than anything. So we want to keep those triglycerides below 100 also. When we start seeing those creep up, we're looking at blood sugar handling primarily in the body, some B vitamins and other things. But that is the number that I think is the most dangerous when it's elevated when we're looking at your cholesterol numbers. So I just wanted to make sure everybody kind of understands those line items with their cholesterol. The total cholesterol is not giving you the whole story on your risk factors. So I would love for you to head over to stellarhw.com, check out more information about what we do to serve mommies, and restore and retain their health. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks.